Oh, that was a quick one there, eh? We are live right now, boys. Anybody, any viewers yet? But today is not the Niachi show. Today is all about learning, about education, life programming in schools. And I'll ask you guys a few questions to go them. And we'll kind of go around. Doesn't matter whoever wants to answer questions, and it'll turn into a conversation. Just like we're hanging out on these crowds.
I don't know if it's me, but you're pretty slow, eh?
Yeah,
like it's lagging on your end there, Willis.
Is it? Can you hear me good now?
It's better now.
Oh, now it's better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It could be your Bluetooth headphones too.
You were lagging, Willis.
Okay then. All right. Well, I'll get you guys. We'll start with Riel James Thompson there to introduce himself and where he's from and what he does, where he works.
All right. Hey, Willis, Jamie, and what's the other guy's name? Mark?
Mac.
Mac. Right on. Good to see you guys. Thank you guys for having me tonight. It's good to join other land-based educators. But again, thanks for the introduction, Willis. My name is Riel James Thompson. I'm out of Saskatchewan in the South Territory. And I'm the principal on Ottawa Nation, which is also in Treaty 4 territory down south. Second year principal, but also just a land-based enthusiast. Always loved being on the land and sharing that sort of thing. And spent some time with some of our other speakers too tonight, with Jamie Gailey out there on the land, and one of the guys I really look up to. So it's good to be on the show tonight with him. So thank you, Willis, for the giving me the minute there to introduce myself.
Must Joe, go ahead there, Mac.
Hey, my name is Mac Graham. I'm originally from New Brunswick. I've been up in La Loche here for 6 years, and I currently run a land-based program at Dene High School, and get a lot of help from our elder here, Jamie. And just happy to be on the podcast with you guys.
Cool. Thank you for that. That was a good intro there, Mac. You did well. And then we'll go up top to the one, the only elder Jamie.
I'm Jamie Gailey and from La Loche, and like helping out. Like I said, I mean, Riel's been up, and I just like to just share my knowledge, with whatever. I don't know a whole lot, but I mean, I like Riel says, I like going out on the land and exploring, doing different things, and trying to teach your kids now, right? It's good for them to learn. So
cool.
That's it for me.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I just want to say, this was I'm doing a project with a group of people, and one of my part was land-based. So it was school programming, but then I picked the land-based education. So I wanted to get some people, and even for future students, university students, or anybody that wants to get into this, I mean, hey, voila, here's a good start, right?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I want to keep the floor open. And if you guys want to chime in whenever, go ahead. And but I wanna start off by what kind of land-based programs do you guys offer in your schools, or what are you guys doing?
Who wants to start? Riel, you start first.
Sure. I can talk a little bit about our land-based program. The big thing about the land-based program is, like, as Indigenous people, once we get to the land, whether we like it or not, it becomes much more. It becomes like almost like a spiritual experience. So that's one thing we always acknowledge when we go on the land is, and that's like where we usually start our teachings with our kids too, is at the bare basics. We need to teach them that respect factor of the land. When you take something from the land, there's usually protocols when, like, to take something, and it usually goes with giving something back. And usually, depending on what community it is, it can be different ways of just acknowledging that animal's life, and that you're thankful that Creator had given us this to use, and that we don't use it, and that we don't waste any, right? So those basic fundamentals is where we like to start, of just teaching them. If you go camping, if we go somewhere, we should leave that place cleaner than when we got there. Little teachings like that with our kids that really speak volumes, because in today's day and age, especially with this technology, things are moving so fast, and we're human beings, like, we don't even know the effects that this could have on our children's minds yet, right? So to get them out there back to the land, all those senses, the smells, the feels, the tastes, all that stuff, really, there's still memory living in our DNA and whatnot, and that really brings that out in us. And it's a really good feeling to be connected to identity, to be connected to culture. So those are really what we want to drive with our students. And I know you guys have a big advantage in the north around your language, but that's something we're really striving to enhance in the south, is around our language, right? So a lot of researchers, what we're finding is, yes, the language is in the north, but the custom and the ceremonies are in the south, right? So just little things like that to remember with the kids when you're developing the programs. Also, if you're developing the program in somebody else's community, like for myself, I'm in a very significant situation. I am a Nakota man, but I'm a principal on it in a Cree Nehiyaw nation. So each challenges, you need to come very lightly and connect with the local knowledge keepers, because that is essentially important. Like, I would love to come in and preach all my beliefs to all the kids. However, I would be implementing my own beliefs. Whereas, as an Indigenous person, as of respect, a good way to start is just to go in the community, start talking to people. If you're new, if you don't know the protocol yet, you could take just the tobacco is a good way to start. And when you offer that tobacco and ask for direction from our local knowledge keepers, all behind how you offer it. So, but I know it is just a good start just to hold it, and you could ask what you need to ask. And then if that knowledge keeper accepts, then you pass the tobacco, right? So little things like that, which are just important. But the big thing we need to strive for in our Indigenous communities is our own programming. Because once we have that set and established, it's just going to build our own kids so much more. Because within our grouping as a whole, we have subcultures in that we know that are very much different, with very much belief systems. So and even our another thing I like to focus on when I'm building our land-based programs is utilizing the circle of courage. And I don't know if you guys heard of that up in the north yet, or you, Willis, but the Circle of Courage was designed by Dr. Brokenleg out of South Dakota. And the four basic fundamentals that he talks about is belonging, generosity, mastery, and independence. And when we get out on the land, we really want to eliminate, and since it was anti-bullying day 2 days ago, I will say we really want to eliminate that bullying factor and really get our kids with that belonging again, because we're finding that's one big key thing that is missing within our youth, eh? And of course, that's not by accident. We know that these educational systems that came to us, they were put there for a reason. Our language was stripped from us for a reason. Our way of life and our culture were stripped from us for a reason. And to acknowledge that reason and reverse it, because essentially, I've talked about identity already and I talked about language. But when we have that connection to those, in terms of, living off the land, or in terms of providing for yourself, or going out there and taking care of yourself if you ever get lost alone, having that ability to have the strength of mind, even because we know just being in the bush, getting lost, that's pretty strenuous on the mind, eh? So, it's really about building our kids, but with that belonging aspect, and then you could do that anyway. And the big thing when you're around camp and you get your kids to do little responsibilities that they can perform, you can just see our kids' confidence grow, grow, grow. You know, and it could be simple things. You know, go wash this, or hey, could you help me fillet this fish, or hey, could you? We need to clean dishes now, or hey, like it's like camp jobs, but our kids are really hungry for responsibility. That's another thing. Time and time again, we write them off. No, that kid's bad. But when we give them responsibility on the land and they start to build that, hey, maybe I do have a purpose, maybe I do have a role, and then you teach them to take that from the land and then transfer it into the. So it's
And
about,
that's when they want to come to school a little bit more too, right?
yes, and that's when they want to. That's with that relationship piece too. You make them feel like they belong, and then you can teach them how to be generous too. And remember, when you introduce generosity to kids, a lot of the time they're just gonna want to focus on materialistics. Like, I'll give my friend them that, but realistically, even holding the door for somebody or acknowledging them in the morning, you know, it could be in the language or it could just be just saying good morning, but that's generous itself in making somebody feel belonging, and you don't even think of it. But essentially, you want to work towards that mastery piece where we don't even have to tell our kids to do these things now. We don't even have to tell them to do their homework because they're demonstrating it on their own. And then that's when they work into mastery, right? So, but essentially, that's what we shoot for in our programming. But thank you guys for letting me kind of spew off there. It's thank you.
No, that's pretty good there. That's a lot.
good.
I mean, you can go out on the land, but you're really focusing on the individual, the kids themselves to build them up. And I like that. I never really gave that part a lot of thought, and I really like what you shared there, Riel. Mac, yeah, what kind of land-based programs are you guys at the Losh Community School have?
I'll kind of step it back to the beginning. So I've always, like Riel said, I've always had a passion for being outside and a land-based enthusiast. When a few years back, we had a PD one day at Dene High, and it was a guy who came up from Saskatoon. His name was Kim Archibald, and he ran the first ever outdoor school in Saskatchewan, and he ran it right out of Saskatoon, right in the middle of the city. And he did just a variety of different things, basically getting kids connected to the land and learning in a different, unique way. And so he came up and he was like kind of stunned and amazed at what we had around us. And a buddy of mine, Mendes, he came up to him and he's like, "Man, I want to run a program like you have or you had." And he's like, "Yeah, like you guys have it around you. Like we were doing canoe training and canoe paddling and stuff in flood ponds in Saskatoon in the city. You guys live on a lake. You have the boreal forest at your footsteps. We had grain fields." And so we approached our principal. We drafted a plan, and at that time we had something like a 30% credit attainment rate at Dene High School in grade 10. So the division was all for it, as long as we met the quality of education and we boosted up the percentage of kids getting these credits. So we ran the program our first year as a 1 week in school and a 1 week up north. So we have I think it's called a sundown lease on cabins 100 kilometers north of La Loche at the Charme Lake, and they're pretty dated cabins. Jamie could speak to more on that. I think he actually helped build them back in, I don't know, 90s, Jamie?
Yeah, that would have been what year? 95 they started them? 94? Yeah, I think it was 94,
Yeah,
95.
I remember when they were new. Yeah, is that the one just along the tree line there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They were new.
So
when
that's what. That's where these guys are staying when it's 40
Yeah.
below, 30 below.
So we would
Yeah,
alternate.
yeah.
So one week we'd be in town, and then one week we'd be up north. And it didn't matter if it was raining, snowing, -40, +30. We're up north. This is all life before COVID. The
Yeah.
program has had to shift and alter because of that. But yeah, so we're in our third year. One thing that we also decided to do was run a trap line. I had never been on a trap line. I'd had no experience about trapping prior to meeting Jamie, and prior to meeting like guys like Brian Morgan and Paul Haynes. And like those guys kind of showed us around, showed us what we should buy, talk to us about how to clean these animals and how to process them and what they can be used for. And yeah, we were able to successfully run a trap line where kids learned how to set traps, how to clean their animals, some uses for that animal. And we were also really fortunate to have an amazing elder, Pauline Fontaine, come with us every week. She's in her 70s, and she would ride a skidoo down the trail to get to the cabin. She'd be out showing the boys how to properly chop kindling. She'd be teaching the girls how to bead, and even the boys how to bead too, late at night. Whenever Mendez and I were teaching a science lesson or a wellness lesson or an ELA lesson, she was always there to offer her insight and her expertise. And that's kind of the beauty of land-based programming too, is that it's cross-curricular. So the kids are more engaged, right? They're learning about things firsthand. They're experiencing it, they're feeling it with their hands and their eyes, right? Why would you want to learn about water from a textbook when you can go out and you can take samples of water on the land? And that's just an example, but
So
yeah, so
you're doing like schoolwork out in the land as well?
yeah, 100%. And yeah, like the program has been amazing. Like our kids, like kind of like Rial was saying, they figure out who they are, right? They have it in their blood, and technology nowadays has taken that from a lot of our kids, and they don't realize how much that they have right up the road, right in their backyard. And exploring that is kind of enlightening for the kids.
What I like what Mac does also too is like when we go out, I don't know if Real does the same thing, but like you say about technology, I remember when you and Mendez used to take the kids' phones away throughout the whole week. Not allowed to have your phones, even though there was no cell service up there. But it was just that fact of holding a cell phone with you. And the kids at first were getting a little right. At first they were kind of pissed off a little bit, but then they just got used to it and just they knew Mondays or Tuesdays they had their hand in their phone and go all week without it.
One
next
week,
thing you know, a couple, yeah, it was good. It was good for them. It's just like that's where you connect with the land and you forget about technology, right? And that's what a lot of people don't understand is that little bit of time away from technology just is healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
What is that noise there?
Oh, that's my dog snoring.
Okay.
I thought Jamie was standing by you. All right. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
When we're putting our land-based programs together, a lot of the times we do get a lot of pushback too, about land-based education. Is it viable? Is it to standard? But the big thing, like when I always get those arguments, like you need to connect this to the curriculum. You need to connect your land-based to the curriculum. Finally, 2 years ago, I just stopped in my tracks and I said, you know what? You need to connect the curriculum to the land-based, because that's really how it needs to be moving forward, especially for our Indigenous people. We're at a very significant place in our history right now with pandemic, especially. A lot of our communities were forced into isolation, forced into online learning. So a key thing for a lot of our leaders and a lot of our administrators to look at as we return to school, how do we want education to look as we return? You know, as we look at our data and we look at high school retention, success rates, post-secondary rates, all that data right across the board, was that education system working for our people? We really need to question that. And if it's not, we're at a very viable place to make those changes, implement these programs. And a good start, if you're looking to start this in your community, there's a map already drawn up for us in our Indigenous knowledge, and it's by following the seasons. What do you do during that time of the year? If it's let's say it's midwinter, we're not going to go snaring suckers right now, because you just can't unless you're a deadly ice fisherman. You go snare suckers in the springtime.
We can do that up here, yeah.
You guys still do, Jamie. I knew you would. You're probably scared too. But you know what I mean? Even calling moose, you don't go call moose right now. You go at that specific time. And if you don't have that knowledge, well, guess what? You're probably going to miss out on those moose, So, and then actually, I would like to give hats off to the man who taught me how to call moose, actually, right here in the top left there, Jamie Gailey. But it was an awesome time. We went out calling. We got a little calls here and there, nothing too serious. But this was about 12 years ago he taught me. And then I went home to carry the kettle. And on Carry the Kettle, the people back home will tell you there's no moose. But me and my brother went. Really? There's moose now as of the last 8 years. But 12 years ago, there was no moose. I go back home with my brother, and we decide we're going to call moose because Jamie taught me how. I'm going to give you guys a demonstration here. This is the moose call he taught me, okay? Two long ones and two short ones, eh, Jamie?
That's right. There you go. That's right.
I'm sitting at home. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I'm calling around. No moose. We've never seen a moose on the reserve. And guess what shows up, you guys? A 5-year-old bull moose just comes trotting in. I'm sitting there next to my brother. We get so excited. Boom, boom, right here, moose, 10 feet in front of us. And we put 5 shots into him. He wouldn't go down. We put a 6th one in him. He went down. But that was our first moose. But you see, a lot of growth since then even. Now we only use 1 shot. Now, we've grown since then. And that's what the land does to you. So, and of course, when we got that moose, it was actually a very significant time because my nephew came out there. He's also in here. And my grandpa came out there with his tractor. My dad was out there. That's 4 generations of knowledge that was all out there. And I will thank you for sharing that with me, Jamie, because that opportunity came about strictly because you took the time to teach me how to call moose. And that's pretty that's pretty significant stuff. And that's the importance of understanding the land and the map, because once we have that, our individual nations, they can draw their own maps, they can expose their kids to what they want to. And the biggest thing, and I always say this in Indigenous education, celebrate our children no matter what. You need to let them know that they're doing a good job. Even those ones that kind of give you, they pull on all your nerves, acknowledge them that they're doing good. Because time and time again, when they're bashed, you're no good, oh, this teacher told me that you're no good. Those things really weigh on our kids. And it's about really instilling that pride in them and bringing back that want to be there, right? So essentially, we could sit them in a school room and drive books down their throat all day long. But are they really holding that knowledge? And are we really doing any good? Those are really questions we need to ask ourselves, eh? Thank you.
Yeah, those are some good points, man. As Indigenous people, we really, I know, like you said earlier, down south here, their ceremonies, their culture is strong, but no language. And I've learned that too in my university studies. And now going back up north to my homelands there, what are you guys doing, to maybe, I know you taking school out on the land and teaching about that stuff, but is there anything, from the elders? I know I've looked, but trying to teach the old ceremonies, or even if it's like chopping wood, or what type of wood to chop, or what's good, or how to set, that type
Yeah,
of stuff.
there's lots. Yeah, lots of good stuff like that around. I think. I mean, it's like I said, it's the basic stuff, basic things that you teach a kid right off the hop, right?
Mhm.
Chopping wood, like Riel was talking, earlier, like chopping wood, showing them what wood is. Mac's really good at his. Mac's an old farmer, so he knows all about the different trees and different plants, and
Yeah.
I just kind of go by what they look like and what they were. I don't know the names of each plant or each. Mac has
Um,
taught me a lot more of that.
one thing I can add to that, Willis, is like when we set net, whether it be on the ice or in the water, open water, the way that like Jamie and Pauline have showed me and the kids how to clean fish is totally unique, right? And it's part of identity. And like Pauline was actually telling us one time how you guys make the dry fish is totally different than people in like the Cree people in the South, how they do it,
Yeah.
right? And the different cuts that you make in the fish, and the way that you might smoke it with poplar wood, right, is unique. And it's kind of cool to see the kids get it from A to Z, right, and see how much work is involved, because a lot of our kids in town, they just get the dry fish that grandpa or grandma brought in, right? They don't see how much work is involved, right, from setting a net, which can be easy some days and it can be really difficult some days, and then cleaning the fish, waiting for it to dry, and then getting to enjoy it later. So
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Riel down south, right? I think you were doing a moose hide or an elk hide, weren't you, Riel?
Yeah, we did some moose hides, elk
Yeah,
hides.
and just that whole process of everything takes so much time and energy, and I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know how many hours a day you spend with the kids doing it, but
yeah,
at the end of it, the end product is amazing, and then they realize, oh, geez, there's a lot of work put into this, right?
yeah,
And
yeah. That's a good. That's a
and
good part where the patience comes into it, teaching those
yeah,
patients, because
mhm,
like a lot of us wish we could just go in there and press a button and the machine would do it for us. That's not the
yeah.
case.
Oh.
Yeah. So
You
even
know
Bill.
what? You know what I was going to suggest, right? I mean, even after all this I mean, there's two different cultures that we're dealing with here right now, right? When I was going to school, we used to have a school from Cumberland come up to, and we all used to, I mean, hang out at the school together and go up to Charm, right? It'd be kind of cool to send, I don't know, Riel brings a few kids up this way. Once all this pandemic is over, right? Be pretty neat to be able to swap, or like we go down there for a week and then you come up here for a week, right? With
Yeah,
some kids. Be interesting to see, for the kids to know what kind of culture, right?
yeah,
Just a different side of things.
we've talked about before. We are obviously in the same division as La Ronge, and
Oh yeah.
there's a lady who's named Christine Ravenis. She runs a kind of a land-based program in La Ronge, and she's really knowledgeable on this stuff as well. And we've
Yeah.
talked about maybe trying to hook up and doing a canoe trip, right? And
Oh yeah.
that's something too, right? You could either go down south, or you come up north, or east, west, whatever, right? And get kids meeting each other, and
Yeah.
figuring out what's common, what's different, and
You got friendships forever.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and
Actually,
that's a good thing too. Like,
yeah,
I
I'm going.
want to say, my next question. What do you think? I mean, you guys have talked about this, but what do you see the benefit of young Indigenous children, learning traditional culture? I mean, you've already kind of touched on it a bit there. Riel is really on the identity side, and like having elders. Do you guys have elders every time come and teach? Either it's language or just identity piece. What's
Yeah,
the benefit, or even reality? You talked about it too. The kids, they give you a hard time. I mean, I probably was one of those kids that gave someone a hard time, but do you see a shift in the kids as the program goes along?
you definitely do. Yeah. I'm just thinking of my last experience too. And this was a unique experience because this was a trip I just took just randomly. People offered me to take a group of kids from FHQ out to Cypress Hills, and it was I say it's unique because when we started that trip, it came to loading our trailer and loading all the vehicles with all the camping gear. And I looked around and I didn't say much, but there's only 2 or 3 people helping out of 14, eh? And I didn't say much. I just let those people work. I worked too. But then at the end of it, we had a little smudge and we stood in the parking lot. We talked about what was going on. And I did point it out. I said, there was only 3 people helping out of all of us. I said, but you're going to notice at the end of this trip, when we get home, when it comes to unpacking, every one of us are going to help. And throughout that 4-day experience on the land, and again, just by giving them responsibility, telling them, this is how you do this. If you want to go camping, what do you need? You need shelter, you need food, you need hygiene stuff. If you want to go fishing, you can take your fishing rod. If you want to go hunting, this is how you process animals, all that knowledge. But you need to tell them, don't forget that, because someday when you grow up, and you become the elder or the knowledge keeper, or even just the we call it Oscapios, the helper, you're gonna know how to do it. So that's very important. We're training our kids to learn how to run these programs too. We're not just taking them out there because it's a great time. We're on the land. I love the land, so I'm gonna go out there. No.
What's the age category for you, Real, that you're taking out mostly?
Yeah, we take out K to 12, eh?
You do, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, it's primarily our middle years that we're going out in my school. But in other land-based programs, I've had a lot of success with K to 12. And with the elementary students, a lot of people always ask, what is land-based for that? What does it look like? But again, I've already mentioned it. The map is on the land. And I actually heard, is it Mark talk about it already. Just simply getting out in the back of the school, go out there, create a little trap line. And like one year, it was -40, so we weren't getting out there. And one of my colleagues told me, well, this isn't really a land-based program then if you're not going out in all the weathers. And I took a couple steps back and I said, hey, you're right. So what I did was I sent home a letter to the homes and I said, hey, if you guys have any extra snow gear, we'd like it at the school because we have land-based programming. And even though it's cold, we'd like to go outside. So even little things like that, because the cold gives us teachings too, eh? I'm sure James can attest to that, around, responsibility. You need to make sure you have a light or you have all the things to stay warm. There's a rule. If you sweat, you die, little things like that when it's freezing. You got to pace yourself so you're at a comfortable level all the time, eh? You start sweating.
Well, Max got a few stories of -40 taking the kids up north.
There you go.
The buses were freezing. The skidoos were frozen.
Yeah.
Traps were frozen.
I really like that. Mac talks a lot about local knowledge too. That's good, Mac. That's those are the kind of advocates we need in land-based education, because the more advocacy we can have, the more togetherness and unified way. And then you're going to see all the subcultures like the Dene, like even the Dene, different Dene groups, like have their own specific designs of their own land-based programs, right? So, because like you said, Mac, there's different ways to even cut the dry fish. That's good. Those are amazing things to point out, because that's what we need in our education system. So, but remember, when our chiefs, when they negotiated treaty, they did not only they knew the cunning and the wit of the white man was important, but in the process, do not forget who you are. So when we talk about what's more important, academia or land base, we really got to put the two together and mesh them just equally, but have that higher education emphasis as well, because we do need our people, progressing and getting up there in the education world, because we need our youth to have those role models, people to look up to, people to want to be like. So, and I think what you're doing as well, Willis, with the Dene Yachty podcast, I think that's amazing in terms of for the youth of La Loche and all the Dene nations across the board, Fond du Lac, Black Lake, wherever. So that's amazing that you're doing that, because there's a good piece of history there, and it's good to acknowledge one another like that.
That's right.
Mac?
Yeah, something that I can speak to is confidence, right? We have kids who we assume because they live in the north have a lot of knowledge, but for a number of reasons, colonialism, residential school systems, education system itself, it's taken a toll on First Nations, and kids haven't been taught. They've been glanced over, whether that be through language or other parts of culture, right? I'm not First Nations, but I've been taught by a lot of great people up here and some different practices. And so when I teach those to the kids, or when I have a guy like Jamie come in and teach it to the kids, or Pauline or somebody else, you see like this reciprocal teaching taking place. Like you see kids later on take what they've learned and teach it to somebody else. And that's like every teacher's dream. And you just kind of see the kids be happy too, and be kids, and be grateful for what's around them. We've also had pretty much every teacher back at the high school, once the kids have exited our program, they've stuck together and they've kind of created that community, and they've supported each other. So when a kid kind of gets off the rails and is not coming to school, they get in the group text, say like, where you been, so and so, right? And they get them back to school, and it's worked out pretty well. But yeah, I think like for me, I don't remember writing anything from my English programs back in high school. I don't remember science facts that I learned, or grade 10 math.
The table?
Yeah. But I remember taking a land-based program. I remember learning how to tie the bowline knot. I remember learning how to do, set net or fish, right? It's those things, those practical skills that you can learn as a young person and take with you the rest of your life. And I think we need to find a way as educators to, like Riel said, like make sure that land-based program and identity is first, and then come academia.
And everything falls into place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids need to be happy and healthy, right? And
Yeah.
and they get
Yeah.
that on the land, right? Before they can learn, they need to be happy and healthy, and that's a good place to learn.
Yeah. What about you, Jamie? What do you see in the kids? I mean, you're Dene, you're at home, you get different kind of connection to the kids. Do you see
See,
more
when I go out
engagement?
with Mac, I see more engagement, right? I see the progress sometimes in attitudes, right? I mean, like some people off the street, off the kids. I mean, I don't know most of these kids at this young generation. There's a few of them that I might know, their parents. Most of them I don't, right? And if I do know the parents, I kind of have an idea of what. Oh yeah, he's a good kid, right? And it's awesome because I'm not an elder. I mean, I'm just there to help, right?
Yeah, right.
Except for Willis, right? Anyways, I mean, you see that change in attitude though, as even the day goes on. I mean, and each time we're doing something else, like we go set net, and they'll be, oh, it's cold, my feet are cold. We'll say, well, how many pairs of socks do you have on? They'll be like 3. Well, how many times have we told you, if your feet are that tight, you can't move them, they're going to freeze, right? It's the little things. And then they just learn the next time they come out. And it's awesome to see like attitude change. And like you said, like helping out, unpacking. Riel was talking about that, right? Sometimes, well, kids want to get out or go get home quicker. And okay, now they learn to work together.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, there's only 1 or 2 kids that are doing everything. And then later on, it's like, they're all starting to work as a team now, right? And it's good to see that. I mean, like Riel right there, he's trying to fish right now, but obviously he can't catch anything, right? Set the hook there, he says.
Yeah.
I think we might have to teach him a few more skills. He's just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
My brother caught already, but I didn't want to film it.
Well, let's see your guys' fish there.
Where's those fish? Outside?
Yeah, outside. Okay. Well, moving on. My next question is about elders and the importance about, you know, every time you go out, do you guys, I know you guys said you bring Pauline. I don't know if it's every time, but
Yeah,
do you
Mac.
try to bring someone out every time, an elder in the community? I'm not talking Jamie, like older,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking older, knowledge that lived when there was no electricity in the town. And, and what do you think and how important do you think it is to have that every time?
Yeah. So yeah, we do bring up Pauline every week that we go up north. So we leave Monday morning and we drive up north. We take the bus and we take my truck or skidoos or quads, whatever the season is, and we spend the whole week up north at the cabins. And it's so important to have her because we don't have that firsthand knowledge and the language too, right? Pauline is always speaking Dene to the kids, and the kids have told me like how much they've learned and how much more confident that they've become just by spending an evening sitting around camp after all our work is done and after we're inside, like just listening to her speak and her telling stories or playing cards or whatnot, and then her sharing her knowledge through stories and talking about the people who influenced her life. And she's had some amazing or like she's had some crazy experiences and a lot of trauma in her life, and the way that she's dealt with that in a healthy way. And I think that's important for our kids to hear. And then just also being out in the bush when it's -40 for a week, and you have Pauline, an elderly lady, and she's walking out to the outhouse. She's keeping the fire going all night in the girls' cabin. She's up at 5:30 in the morning cooking breakfast, and it's a good role model for not only the young girls to have, but the young boys to have as well.
I gotta mention. I gotta give a big shout out to Mac and Mendez back then and Pauline, because you got the. I don't know if you guys quite understand. Riel and Willis. I hope you guys understand where these guys would go up north with these kids, 15 kids back then, from Monday up until Friday, basically being their parents up there for 24 hours a day. The huge responsibility, right? You know, I mean, these kids are Mac Mendes and Pauline basically were their parents up there for the whole week, every second week. And they looked up to them and they learned a whole bunch of stuff as each week went by, right? That's a good thing with what they've done, because it's a huge commitment on their part, for doing that. It is. That's where I want to say thanks to Mac and Mendes and Pauline. I mean, that's why we want good teachers like you guys coming into our community and teaching your kids.
Nice.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it. Is that doing it aspect. We could sit there and all day long, but who's willing to get
That's
out?
right.
So that is one of the biggest things. And then furthermore, the kids start to realize, oh, okay, this person is willing to put time into us. Okay, this person comes out with us on the land, and then you build that rapport with them. In the provincial system, we call it rapport, but in the federal system and on our own First Nations, we call it relationships.
That's right.
Piece right there. But in the provincial system, they'll tell you, nope, stay away from that. It's rapport. It's rapport, right? So, but it's essential that we work with the whole student in terms of mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being, right? So, all very important aspects as we think of our human, as we think of healthy human beings. So, but yes, good conversation tonight.
It was good. Yeah,
That we can pull
I
together
really
like
enjoyed it.
else and have a good talk about what we're doing here, because it is huge. And back to that canoe trip stuff, actually. I set up a canoe trip for the last 5 years, but that was between Stanley Mission and Kakawishta First Nation. And actually, Ochapwace just joined us too the last year, but this last year COVID prevented us from going, unfortunately. But again, that was a language based relationship we had with them, and it was really cool. As a teacher, one night, like, you're on duty 24/7 for supervision, but my kids were up till about 2 a.m. and I was listening to them. They were at the fire right outside my tent, but they were really talking about language at 2 a.m. with kids. And it was just phenomenal to hear that. 2 a.m. I was like, wow, I'd love to tell them to go to they're in class right now, you know. And sure enough, the next morning I talked to them. I said, yeah, come on, you guys, get up 7 a.m. You guys still got to get up. I know you're up all night, but you still got to get up, help with breakfast, you know, take care of your responsibilities, and then you can nap later. So, but they did get up, and I did acknowledge them. You know, that was nice to hear. You know, our young Nehiyaw Cree people sitting out there and conversing. And of course, like kids do, they ask some inappropriate words. And just to do is just say, hey, you guys, I'm listening. And then they would get back on topic to asking about, you know, maybe not the swear words or how do you say this or how do you say that, right? So, but nonetheless, that's learning whether we like it or not. So, yeah.
That's some good points.
Yeah. The same thing about those trips. We always do those as year-end trips. Like, oh, okay, you finished the year. Okay, you get to go on the canoe trip now. But the shift I see in those 4 days on the land, when you have to portage everything you take, you have to, you know, work together, do all those things when they really come to toll. I always say this after every canoe trip. I wish I did this at the start of the year, because then you could build those relations right at the start. A good way to icebreaker, get on the land, get familiar with one another, and then go on with the schooling, and then have another one at the end of the year, because that's very essential in the relationship building process of our youth. Because I don't know, it's just very unique what the land does, and I know Mark knows. It's you know, you can see that shift. I don't think we'd be doing it right. We'd be in the classroom with everybody else. So,
well, Mac, I know he took the kids with Les Stroud, the Survivor man. He took a bunch of boys down the Clearwater River, and my father-in-law.
Your father-in-law, yeah. And that was one thing I forgot to mention too, is when we were at the cabin up north, like it's 100 kilometers from town, but we always have visitors stopping in usually. And Ronnie Lemag, Jamie's father-in-law, he'd always regularly stop in and make sure we were still alive back there in the bush. And he incredible guy. You can't say enough about him and his knowledge and what he would always speak about his father and how much that he taught him. And it was cool for the kids to see, you know, positive relationships and learning from generation to generation. And Jamie always credits, you know, him to teaching him so much too, right? And it's good for the kids to see. It's good for the kids to see humility, right? Because, you know, things go wrong all the time on the land, right? And we learn every time we go up north, whether it's packing, oh, you forgot this, or oh, you didn't have that, and you learn and you have to adapt. And it's good for the kids to see that and see that, yeah, we're human too. We make mistakes. We don't know everything, right? And we're willing to learn. We're willing to seek guidance, and it's good for the kids that way.
Yeah, it's good. I want to tell. It's funny you brought that up. I mean, all of us have been up north, north of La Loche, and when I was in high school, we went on a canoe trip, and then at the start of the trip, Lester Horse, he gave us all a roll of toilet paper, and he said, "You got to keep this for the 6 days. You're gonna be right." And then halfway through, a few days in, here's this guy coming along asking to borrow toilet paper, right? You gotta have your stuff ready in hand, right? Like it doesn't go that way. It's not easy like you guys talk about. It's not a push button, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's something funny. Yeah, you guys have toilet paper. You gave us one roll for 6 days here.
We 1 year were able to take our kids at the end of the year on a hiking trip to Jasper.
Yeah.
And we did I think it was 10 kilometer hike up Sulphur Springs Trail. And it's a huge elevation, right? Especially coming from Saskatchewan, right? For these kids. And like we had 3 girls yelling, screaming, crying, swearing at us the entire way up the mountain. But when we summited, they were all super happy, super proud of themselves. And they got back down to the base and back to camp, and they all threw their cigarettes in the fire that night and said, "We're done." So it's kind of cool, like things like that happen, you know, when you have that relationship with the kids and you put them in situations where they're forced to learn things about themselves. And
yeah, that's pretty good.
yeah.
And then you know, we almost reached the hour there. I don't want to keep you guys. I want one more question. What's the importance? No, have you seen an increase? You guys have touched on this a bit, and you know, and Riel kind of talked about it there. Wish he started before, and do you see kids more wanting to learn more every time they come back? You know, and is it something like would you rather start at the beginning of the year and you know, like
See, when you say that, right? See, to me, when you're out in the land, nothing's repetitive.
yeah,
It's always different. Every day it's different, right? It's not
Yeah.
like going to a classroom where it's repetitive. I mean, sometimes in classrooms it's not repetitive too, but when you're out in the land, nothing is repetitive.
mhm,
So I think that's where they enjoy coming out, and you see the progress in them, right?
yeah,
And that's what I see. And
hands
I think,
on,
yeah,
yeah.
I
But
mean, these two are a lot more around them than I am, right?
no, I want to hear from Jamie about this too. I mean, you're Dene Suklina, you're up north there. Do you see? I mean, you obviously grew up. I had you on my podcast there, and you grew up with your
Yeah.
grandfather, and the stuff you learn. Do you see the kids wanting to learn that more? And you know, or is there
Oh
just,
yeah, I think so.
you know, from a Dene?
I mean, yeah, for sure, I do. I see it, and I always tell them. I mean, sometimes, some days you're gonna think, "Oh, why am I learning this?" When you get older and you come back, and then you're gonna realize, "Oh man, I remember this. I remember doing this now." Like Max said, I remember how to set a net. I know how to make a hole just to put that net, like to put the jigger in. I know how to use the jigger. You know, I know how to set that trap. You know, at the time though, when they're young, like Riel, he does K to 12. Mac and I, we do, what is it, grade 10s?
Yeah.
Grade 10s, right?
Mm.
And grade 10's a good age. It could be younger, it could be older, but then I think that's just a perfect age to take them out. And like I said, some days they're gonna think, well, why am I gonna learn this? I used to think like that. I used to go to survival camp when I was in school, right? I'd be like, what the hell am I doing learning this, right? But then when you get older, that's when you appreciate a lot more.
Yeah. You, Mac?
Yeah, I think like the very first year that we started the program, we had a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
And then once that first group went through, they're like, can we stay till grade 11? And then it's kind of created this its own little culture in the school, and the kids like join the program solely to get up north. And at first they think like going up north means like kicking their heels up at the cabin, you know, getting how do you want your eggs in the morning from Pauline, right? But we we get them up early. We have them either setting a net first thing, you know, running the
Checking
trap
rabbit
line,
snares.
checking rabbit snares, doing schoolwork. Just staying alive up north is tough too, right? We're hauling our own water. We're making sure that the
Wood.
outhouse is in good condition. We're chopping wood, cutting wood. But the kids want it, right? And once they've heard about the program and had a little taste, like they're excited for it. So
Because in the outhouse in the wintertime, the boys, right? Outhouse, it starts to freeze and gets higher, so it doesn't go down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How about you there, Riel James Thompson?
Yeah. We're at a very key place in the history of Indigenous education. I look forward to where it goes and what comes of it. Because the more creative we can, and look at what other people are doing, and don't be shy to try it out too, and ask the local people how it fits into to your beliefs. That's always good stuff. They say don't recreate the wheel. I say don't rewrite the medicine wheel. So that was a joke, you guys. You guys can laugh. Sorry. And again, just speaking about the broader picture, because time and time again, like we have these programs, but I always preach about the advocacy. There's strength in numbers, and just moving together in unity, because as Indigenous people too, that's a good way to be. Look out for one another. Yeah, we might not be the same subculture, I'll say, but at the end of the day, we are all native, and we do deserve a place and we do deserve to educate and pass knowledge on to our kids how we see fit, in an atmosphere that's going to help us kindle their full potential to whatever it may be, just like lighting up a little piece of birch bark, how that just takes off just like that. That's what we want for our kids in the long run, because and we've talked about it all night. It's about that confidence piece, and it's about that just highlighting that, be proud about being native, be proud about learning your language, be proud about putting your best foot forward when it comes to our culture, when it comes to our way of life. Because the more we wear it with pride, the more our young ones are going to wear it with pride, and then that's right. What happens. And I would love to say I was in this job for the money, but we know teachers aren't paid that well, and I'm principal. I don't make, it's not bad.
You make good money down there.
Hey, Jamie, what I mean, but if we were wanting to make money, we'd go up north in Fort Mac and jump on one of those heavy equipment, and then we'd make real money. So, but we're here.
You don't want to do that.
Not nothing, and we're in the situation, and just and do it the best you can. That's the main thing, and wear it, your heart on your sleeves, because our kids are always analyzing like how you are around them, and they pick up on those things, whether you're true or whether you're not. So, but again, thank you guys. I think my phone's gonna die here pretty soon, so
yeah,
that's a good excuse. He just wants to get out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Riel, I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is for anybody. It'll be on YouTube, Land Base. I mean, education, and I want to get your take on the Nakota and the Cree and all that stuff. So it's good to hear. I want to say thank you, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, shout out to Carry the Kettle too. I know they just a teacher out there, Chad Owatch, and they put together a curriculum around the Nakota language. And the Nakota language is a really tough spot right now. There's only a handful of fluent speakers, but they just got their curriculum approved to have a ministry-based class for students to attain high school credit. So hats off to the Carry the Kettle and their teachers out there for making that history. That's a part of history too. And as we move forward, just look forward to seeing other people reach milestones. And all the best to you guys up there in the Wash too, eh? Mark, I hope you guys have a good and Jamie, same thing.
Mac.
He's only said it 10 times.
I know.
I like Mark.
Yeah.
Mac.
Okay.
I'm also recruiting teachers, so give me a call, Mac.
Hey.
It's Mark.
He's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
You can't even get his name right.
What kind of principal are you?
Right?
Yeah.
I like.
All righty. Thanks, Riel. Thanks for joining us today. We will chat with you again soon. Have a good one.
Coming tomorrow, Willis?
Maybe. I'll talk to you after.
Okay, have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, later.
And he's gone. Yeah, that was some good stuff there, guys. And
That was really good.
it's a good conversation to get. And there's some comments here if you guys want to. Land-based is the best education our students could have.
Oh, yeah.
I agree, Riel. Be proud. We can be richer than anyone by connecting to our ancestors. Everyone feels a longing to connect to their past, their future.
That's right. Awesome.
That's a really good point about relationships that speaks to indigenous pedagogy. Pedagogy, that I never knew that word till I got to university. Yeah. And youth development, their own connection with the land, which in turn nourishes them spiritually, physically, and mentally. Yeah, there's some good points, like some days, I mean, we live in a Western society. I mean, it's different for you, Mac. You're not indigenous. And, a lot of times I always, as Dene Sutlina, that's what I kind of look for in my show as well. But I always want to learn, the old way there. And,
It's good.
I don't see a problem in it.
No, and you won't be. Don't ever say it's too late to learn. You can learn at any age.
Oh yeah,
I mean, right?
Yeah,
you just gotta have the time for it. That's all, and it'll come.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up in
and don't ever be ashamed to not feeling that you don't know anything about the land, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I still remember a lot of the stuff when I was a kid too. So, but
yeah,
I mean, just the whole aspect of being indigenous is number one in my eyes.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Dene Sutlina, that's who I am. And again, I want to thank both of you. I'll let you guys say your little
Thanks,
bit. And
No, I appreciate you guys inviting us out here, and I always enjoy talking to you. I listen to your shows all the time, and you do a good job. Keep it up.
Yeah, and for me, thanks for having me on, and good connecting with you guys. And yeah, like Jamie said, Willis, I think what you're doing is pretty awesome. It's a way to share your culture, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool, man. Yeah, thanks, guys. And I will don't go anywhere yet. I will end it, and we will chat in a bit. And I want to say thank you, anybody listen there, comments, and it's cool. I hope any educators there got some new information, and they can go ahead and use these guys their curriculum on the land. So thank you very much. You have a good night.